Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried & Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back. Here we are again, guys. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you once again for tuning in. I love you guys. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Wasatch Recovery, Siegfried & Jensen, iHill Institute, Living Recovery Interventions, and Veracity Networks. And then, I do have to mention, we have some private sponsorships, and they just wanted to be private, but I can't believe these people. They're willing to give because they love the cause, and it's because of the amazing guests I've had on my show, and today's going to be no different. Today we're joined by Courtney Anderson. Courtney, thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, so glad to have you here. So Courtney is the founder and CEO of Spa Trouve.
That's
I
it.
said it right, didn't I? It's a full-service spa here in Utah. There's spas in Draper, Orem, Highland, St. George, and then there's a new one coming out in Bountiful on March 1st.
Yeah,
so
6 weeks away.
So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And how would you describe the Spa Trouve? Like, what's everything that you guys provide there? Let's let our listeners know about that.
Oh, sure. So we're a full-service medical spa.
Okay.
So we offer everything from laser hair removal to Botox and filler injections, cool sculpting. We do a lot of advanced skincare treatments, chemical peels, microneedling.
Oh, wow.
I call it the beauty is pain spa. It's not pamper me.
Yeah.
If you don't walk out of Spa Trouve bruised, red, swollen, a little tender, then we probably haven't done our job.
Yeah.
So
well, that's great. And I love, on your site and some things that you've done, even on YouTube, you have a lot of your estheticians and coworkers talk about why they do what they do.
yes,
Because they love helping people feel their best, right?
Yep.
Is that accurate?
yeah, I would say for the most part, estheticians get into the field because they either had low self-confidence or suffered with acne, and they know how it feels to
Yeah.
just not feel comfortable in the skin that they're in. So they love helping others with their skincare issues.
Yeah.
And I love it as well.
Yeah. Well, I know
So-
you're very passionate about it, and we're going to get to that and talk about that. Courtney is also the host of her own podcast, the Glow Boss podcast.
Yes.
I love the name.
Thank you.
Right. And I've been fortunate enough to actually be on your
You
show.
were.
It's probably been about a year ago.
I think it was over a year ago.
Yeah.
One of my favorite podcasts, number 131, by the way. So
Wow,
go
you
listen.
remember that.
Well, I actually had
That's
a couple
awesome.
reviews specifically on
Oh, wow.
your podcast,
Very cool.
131. So
Well, it was great. You
take a
guys did a
listen.
great job interviewing me, and I love your platform. Your branding, by the way, too, is amazing.
thank you.
Like the way, Courtney's amazing, guys, and I can't wait for you guys to hear her story. But man, you really are an inspiring woman.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
and that's
you.
why I wanted you on, because the way you carry yourself and the way you do things. And again, I know you have your challenges and things like that, but man, I love how you face them.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
You're married. You have a beautiful daughter.
Yes.
And and we're going to get into some other things. But I'd like to start off with, tell us where you grew up and maybe a little bit about your family and a little bit about your childhood.
Sure. I am the oldest of a bunch of boys. I was born in Whittier, California. Both my
Okay.
parents are from the Los Angeles area. But my dad moved us to Utah when I was about 5.
Okay.
So I started school in California, but really my roots are in Utah.
Roots are here.
So he moved us out to a tiny town called Elk Ridge, Southern, and
Okay.
it's a big town now. I wasn't there very long,
Right.
but yeah, he just wanted to get out of California and loved the opportunities that were in Utah. He has definitely an entrepreneurial spirit
Yeah.
as well, my dad. And I learned so much from him. He's really my person, my guide in life
Yeah.
that has really taught me so much about being an entrepreneur and the work that it takes.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Love
we were only out there for a little while, and then we moved to Alpine. And that's where most of my junior high and high school years were.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a rowdy house.
Well, you mentioned you're the oldest of brothers.
Yes,
so
brothers.
I'm sure that was interesting.
Yeah,
right?
it is interesting. I definitely think it's made me who I am. I always not realizing it, but when you're the oldest of men, it definitely makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And
right.
they're big boys. They're tall, strong, football.
Yeah.
You know, I could not be weak.
Right.
And I'm actually a pretty small person. So inside, I felt a little intimidated at times.
Sure.
But I learned how to hold my ground. And then
Yeah.
I felt responsible for them. I don't know if like a lot of oldest children feel this way, but you kind of feel responsible to
Yeah,
be the
I think I
leader
hear
of the
that
pack.
often. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always felt, oh my gosh, I'm responsible to lead all these men. And it made me, I don't know, just very introspective and always thinking like, this is hard. These men are strong and I have to be so tough. And
Yeah.
but it taught me really how to speak directly.
Mm-hmm.
I learned boy verbiage versus girl. And I didn't realize the
Yeah.
difference until I moved in with a bunch of girls in college.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then my eyes, I had girlfriends, of course,
Yeah.
in school, but living with boys versus living with girls is so different.
yeah.
And I think it's helped me a lot because now I manage a lot of women.
Yeah.
But something about leading and growing up with men somehow helped me
For
you
sure.
know, gain that strength and leadership.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think I hear a lot too, and I've had people on who said the same thing you just did. Being the oldest, I felt responsible. I felt like I had to maybe be an example and show the way. Sometimes that's a lot of pressure too,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But yeah, I can imagine the things that you've learned just, trying to keep them in line and, just, being
oh
with
yeah.
them.
It was so fun though, like truly so fun.
Yeah.
And in a way, I was this awkward position in my family where my parents relied on me a lot to kind of be their mentor or almost their nanny. And then they also told me a lot of things that my parents didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of had to decide, okay, do I keep confidences? Do I tell my mom?
Right.
Like I had to kind of decide which
Yeah.
things to, I wanted them to trust me, but I also knew my parents were relying on me to kind of oversee them a little bit. So it was
Yeah.
interesting. It was an interesting place in the family, and it's still like that. They all live in Saratoga Springs
Okay.
within a half a mile of
Oh,
each
right
other.
on.
And then I'm kind of up here in Draper,
Mm-hmm.
and I still play that role of like, I'm not in with them, but I'm kind of their guide. They call me to update their resumes. They call me when they need guidance.
Yeah.
They call me a million times when they had girl problems and when they need a raise and how to talk to their bosses
Okay.
and
Yeah.
interesting things like that. So
Do any of them do kind of what are they entrepreneurs as well? Any of them like you?
no, none of them. They
Okay.
all ended up, the brother right next to me is a genius and he works at Snapchat.
Oh,
He's a
wow.
computer programmer. Yeah, he's a
Dang.
genius.
Yeah.
And then the others also do computer programming. They all ended up being just computer science wizards.
Mm. Yeah. Wow.
So,
That's cool.
yeah, I'm kind of out on my little island.
Yeah.
But
Well, you mentioned that, one of the things you learned from your dad is, the entrepreneurial spirit
yeah.
and
Yep.
that kind of thing. And that's no easy road.
Oh my heck, it's so hard. It is the hardest road you can take, I will
Yeah.
say.
And we're going to get into that. What are some maybe other lessons that you learned growing up from your parents or for just being the oldest and that kind of thing that stands out maybe?
I think watching my dad, just his example was probably the greatest thing for me. So he started a company way back when we moved to Utah. He'd worked for Nature Sunshine for a while
yeah.
and then decided during the war in 1989
Yeah.
way back he decided to start a company called the Food Connection, which was a food storage company.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
went in with a partner and they tried to get it up and going, and it had a pretty good start, but it wasn't extremely successful, and he ended up selling it and partnering in with someone else. And but what I love about my dad, and he has made it, I can talk a little bit about his journey. He's now
Yeah.
a multimillionaire, has done extremely well.
Yeah.
But he wasn't afraid to fail. He just wasn't afraid
I
of
love that.
the journey itself. And so, of course, it caused us to move a few times.
Yeah.
because he just didn't want to be, he really wanted to be his own boss. He really wanted to control his own schedule. He wanted to, live his life on his own terms. And that was more important to him than anything. And he just didn't fit the corporate mold.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't. And my dad's definitely adventurous is the number one word. I mean, my dad has got his pilot's license. He's joined the Coast Guard. He's been a teacher.
Wow.
He's really just tried, you name it, my dad will try. He's, gone to Machu Picchu, almost every country in the entire world he's flown to. He has a black, what are they called? The black card when you fly.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But anyway, he has one of those cards. And so I just grew up watching this man he'd always tell me, you have one life to live and we never know when we're going to go. And, failing is kind of part of the process. Wow. And so I think just watching him, I was just really inspired, and he always picked himself back up. He's definitely not, he's just happy and an optimist, and he had internal strength to keep going. So even when he failed, he never got depressed. He just never really cried about it. Of course, I could feel stress. We could feel stress in our family, but he just never quit. He just kept going. And he is so good with people, really good at networking, so kind. I don't know anyone that doesn't love my dad. Right. Genuinely. Yeah. He's just good to the core. Wow. I think of him as like a Labrador. Sorry, Dad. In the best way, but you just can't make him mad.
Right. Yeah.
You just
love him.
Yeah, you just love him. Yeah. You just love him the day you meet him.
Well, from what I know of you, Courtney, when you describe your dad, I feel like you're just a lot like your dad.
Well, thank you.
Would you say that's accurate? I mean,
yeah.
Because you're that person that's not afraid to put your neck out there, again, not afraid to fail. And
I failed a lot.
Yeah, but again, you keep going, you keep pushing forward. So it sounds like your personality, at least, and maybe are a lot like your dad.
Yes, for sure. Everyone compares my dad and I don't know if it's because I'm the oldest. But of all the siblings, they say my dad and I are the most similar.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. In personality and my brothers will even say that, and they're the boys, you're the most like Dad. And that's probably true. So yeah, I just, I still appreciate and I'm so grateful for just who he is. Yeah. 'Cause every time I fail or something stressful happens, then I have that, I remember my dad going through his times. I remember how he responded. Yeah. I remember how he got through it. And I remember him saying, it always works out. You just can't stop trying. Right. It's like if you stop trying, if you quit, that's when it just goes down. The universe falls in love with a stubborn heart, and you just have to be so stubborn. Just keep fighting for what you want.
Ooh, I love that. I'm going to steal that quote.
My dad.
That's good. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And again, from what I know of you, you're describing you when you describe your dad, at least in my eyes, from what I know of you and just what you do for a living and that kind of thing. So as you're growing up, you're learning these lessons, did you go to college? Did you, maybe describe that time in your life?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I also did a lot of funny things in my youth that took a lot of discipline. My mom enrolled my entire family in Taekwondo karate. And because I had all these brothers, and my mom actually got her black belt, and it actually required a ton of discipline. We did meditations, we did sparring, we had to learn all of these different forms. And I finally asked my mom if I could quit my junior year of high school because I just felt so embarrassed running out into the minivan with my karate suit on. It wasn't me. I'm small. They were pairing me with the 12-year-olds. It just it wasn't a fit, but it definitely taught me a lot. I think back on it, it's interesting. There's a lot of disciplinary skills and interesting things in karate. And I'm also a pianist. So I started playing the piano when I was 7. And I actually love to write and compose music, and I was in a lot of piano competitions as a young girl. And my dad really did care about academics. So I did get good grades. I was the nerdy kid in high school.
Doing homework all weekend.
I was. Yeah, I really pushed myself to get good grades, and I was a pleaser, still am a pleaser, and wanted my dad to be proud of me.
Yeah.
So I pushed myself. So I got a scholarship, and I went to BYU.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad actually, I didn't have that many choices at the time. He said, you can go to BYU Provo, you can go to BYU Idaho, you can go to BYU Hawaii. I'm like, there's no in heck I'm going to Idaho. I can hardly stand January through March, where we're at here in Utah. And just didn't see myself in Hawaii, so I ended up at BYU. And I love my experience at BYU.
Mm-hmm.
I got my bachelor's degree. I did pre-med. I wanted to be a PA. And actually, I'm a science geek. I really am a nerd at heart, but I loved my science classes.
Yeah.
I loved anatomy, physiology, zoology. It was just also interesting to me. And I ended up doing an internship at the U in their cadaver lab and was dissecting cadavers. You dissect it, and I was creating a manual for the med students. So
oh, man.
I know, this is interesting. But I ended up meeting my husband. He's a Ute, and we got married after I graduated. So we kind of have a split family, and then I didn't end up going to PA school because, anyway, it took a little turn of events when we got married.
Right.
But, yeah, I loved...
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned these things taught you discipline. I mean, to learn the piano... I mean, that's no joke.
Yes.
It takes discipline, right?
It does.
Karate.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time picturing you doing
Me
that,
too.
but I'm sure
Don't
you were good
ask
at I'm
me.
sure you were good at it.
I don't know.
Well, again, everything I know about you, like I said, is you're a go-getter. When you put your mind to something, you do it. And why don't we talk about, let's talk about Spa Trouve and how that came about and why you went down this road. And again, anyone who's listening to this, who's ever started a business or still in it, they know the trials and the tribulations and the blood, sweat, and tears.
Oh, I pray for you all morning and night.
Yes, yeah.
An all-encompassing prayer.
Putting things on the line, trying to secure loans, all these different dynamics. So talk about, why did you go down this road, first of all, and create a spa that, and then just talk about that experience of doing this on your own.
Yeah. So when I was 28, I took a job as the operations director for a medical spa down in Utah County.
Okay.
And it was in a little bit of financial distress. And I could see the potential in it. I love the med spa world because, like I said before, it's not just a pamper me, quick fix, but all of the treatments have long-term results, and it's very progressive. There's new lasers coming out all the time. There's new, filler treatments coming out, anti-aging treatments, and there's science behind all of the lasers, and I'm a science geek.
Yep. Yeah, you love that in school.
Yeah, I love science. And so I kind of loved this combination of, it's not like a hospital setting where you would be if you were a PA or a doctor, where people are injured or sick and emotionally maybe beaten down a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's this medical aesthetic world where people are wanting to come in to boost their confidence, and they're not sick and they're over the moon when you help them with their acne, or if you uplift someone who's been through a hard divorce or feeling depressed or going through some hard times, and you can... just like females are really drawn to aesthetic.
Sure.
The lipstick industry was the only one that shot up during the Great Depression, right? And we kind of found that during COVID too, is our industry had a huge boost during the pandemic because people were seeking ways to boost their confidence.
Wow.
And I loved that. I loved that it had that combination of, science-driven treatments with really happy clients. And so I immediately fell in love with the industry, and the spa was kind of in a financial disarray, and the owner was needing to sell it, and my husband and I I just told him I love this. Like I want to buy this. I want to figure out a way to buy this. And she was willing to let us pay her out month by month so we could, make it affordable.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she hadn't been paying the rent for quite a few months, so we were evicted from our current space.
Okay.
And it was really hard. There was kind of a lot of drama just going on. When you get an eviction notice on the door, you don't feel safe as employees. The clients don't feel safe.
Yeah, right.
Wondering what's going to happen to their contracts. So we did an asset sale with the owner, and we purchased the furniture and the clients, the equipment. And then I needed to find a space that we could move into.
Right.
That was affordable and manageable. And luckily there was a space just right across the street from where we were. We were in a 4,000 square foot space. This space was 1,700 square feet. And I just knew, the rent was only $1,200 a month at the time, which was very affordable. Yes, it was compact, but it had a lot of rooms.
Okay.
So there were still enough rooms to perform the services.
To do it, yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought, if I can make this happen, I think we can rebuild this. But I needed a med spa build out is typically around $250K, which at the time for me was a lot of money. I was 28, almost 29, and I definitely didn't have that capital.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Even with our 401k, everything, just didn't have it. So I started thinking, who in my life has money? Who can I borrow money from? And the person that kept coming to my mind, of course, was my dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, my dad has money.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever ask my dad for money. I was actually very independent. I'm still very independent. My husband and I actually have our own bank accounts. I really like feeling I'm my own person.
Sure.
I'm proud of that. I'm not,
Right.
I'm that opposite of, like, Nick tried to buy me a diamond ring, and I'm like, no, I just want a band. Because we're equal. I don't know, something in my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm just really independent. So the thought of asking my dad for a significant amount of money was just nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet.
And so, but I knew my dad very well. I was the oldest. I had a relationship with him. I'd grown up trying to please him in a way.
Sure.
So I thought, okay, my dad wants me to show him I'm prepared. My dad wants him to show me I have a plan. My dad wants to show, he wants to see the risks. And so I made this little business plan and typed it up, and I put it in a laminated book. And I decided that I would ask him for this money when he was at Lake Powell, because that's his happy place.
Okay.
That's when he's in the best mood.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, that's always
super
good
cheerful.
to get him in a good mood.
Yeah, always good to get Dad Dwayne. Not when he's on a conference call. We get him when he's up on top of the boat singing.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, and so we had a trip coming up, so I just thought, yep, this is what it is. I'm going to ask him for this money. And I'd kind of crunched numbers, and I figured that if we could salvage the desk and all of the cupboards and all of the furniture, and we didn't need equipment, that it would come to about $100K. So I could probably, so none like now where we're doing marble floors, and I was just trying to be scrappy and.
Yeah, you're just trying to get something so you can just have customers come in and do your thing.
And just make it work.
Make it work.
And so I put together this plan for $100K. And we went to Lake Powell, and I was in my little tankini. And I went on top of the houseboat, and I remember the song that was playing was This Is Gonna Be a Good Life by One Republic. It was playing. Yeah, and my dad was up there with his hat on.
You still remember the song?
I do. I actually framed
That's amazing.
the album cover and put it in my room because I love music, and music kind of connects with me, and for some reason I pay attention to music. It's just something that hits, but I remember that song. But anyway, so he's up there, and he's whistling and driving the boat and has his little visor on. I'm like, okay, all right, Dwayne, I can do this. I can do this for Dwayne. He's going to say yes. I just kept talking to myself. And I pulled out the business plan and I was like, Dad, as you know, I've been managing this med spa. It's in financial distress, but I really think we can save it. I've already done my homework. There's a space right across the street available. It has X amount of rooms. The landlord, I've already talked to the landlord. I did all of the work, so he didn't even have to,
Yep. He didn't have to ask you the questions and you go, well, I haven't done that yet.
Yep. I just wanted to be as prepared as possible. And I was like, I showed him the business plan. I walked through. I have this equipment. I'm going to salvage the desk and then salvage the furniture. And we have a pretty good clientele base that I think, if we can rebrand this and give it a fresh start, it'll be okay. And I just need $100,000 to make it work. And he read through it and he looked at me and he says, okay. And I was like, okay. He said, okay. And on the back page, there was like a signature. And I was like, can you just sign this, please? And he signed it. And then I was like pretty much in tears and just ran downstairs. And I don't even know if I talked to him the rest of the trip because I was too nervous he might change his mind.
Yeah, please don't change your mind.
Or ask me more questions. So that was the gritty, crazy start of Spa Trouve in Orem. And
wow. Is that the name? Did you come up with the name then?
Yeah. That is even an interesting story in itself. So I'd never done branding. I'd never created logos. I'm a naturally creative person. Like I said, I'm a pianist. I'm kind of an artistic by nature. So it excited me to think that I could create this brand, but I didn't know where to start. I definitely didn't know graphic design.
Yeah.
There was no Instagram at the time. There was no, apps that I could just create something on Canva and put out there.
Yeah.
But I was sitting in my kitchen after I got home from this trip, and I was trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm in Orem. It's more conservative. What do I want my brand to be?
Right.
What do I want the name to be? And I saw this invitation on my fridge, and it was really beautiful. It was black, and it was really classy.
Yeah.
And it was a birthday invitation for my husband. He was being invited to a birthday party. And I asked Nick, I'm like, where did you get this? And he's like, oh, it's Mariana's husband invited me to a party. So I called her. I called Mariana, and I said, Mariana, who designed this invitation for you? It's so pretty. And she said, oh, I did. I actually just graduated in graphic design. And I'm like, well, this is gorgeous. And I'm trying to figure out a new brand and a new name for this spa. And she said, well, I'm looking for work. And I said, perfect.
You're like, great.
And she came to my house, and we just started creating a vision board and gathering different ideas. And the med spa world, it's primarily female. The males are starting to come in, but it is still primarily female.
Yeah.
And we were looking at colors, and there were so many spas that were purple and, blue and gold. And she goes, what if we just go fuchsia? What if we just go bright yellow? What if we break the mold and do something that is just something you haven't seen? And I loved the idea of fuchsia. I love pink.
Sure, yeah.
So we picked those three colors: bright fuchsia, bright blue, and then this vibrant yellow. So neon colors, which I thought, oh, that's so interesting. And then we started thinking about, okay, we're in this conservative town, but we're doing kind of these, fun and sexy treatments.
Yeah.
How do we bring this fun and sexy, loud feel and vibe to a conservative community? And so we kind of went the vintage route. So something I learned is it didn't seem as outlandish or crazy if we did more of like vintage bikinis or black and white imagery or kind of the throwback to the 50s, which is really cute.
Yeah. And well, again, your branding's amazing.
Oh,
like,
thank
where
you.
It's come from there, even it's like it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So we went with fuchsia, we went with vintage, we decided on black and white with pops of these neon.
Yeah, I love it.
And Spa Trouve, we originally wanted to do French stripes, and our OG spa in Orem had these metallic metallic silver stripes. And so we started thinking, we'll come up with a name that is French. And Trouve is French. And we were searching, words, and Trouve means to discover. And so we thought of this mission statement of Spa Trouve is where you discover yourself, or Spa Trouve is where you discover your beauty.
Oh, I love that.
And so we went with Trouve, and we went with these metallic stripes, and then we went with this fuchsia. And that's kind of how the name was born. And I still work with that same designer where we chat and go back and forth all the time. And I'm always involved in the process. I like to do a lot of employee photos and artistic photo shoots, and so the brand has kind of turned into, people wouldn't notice, but a lot of the images are actually employees of Spa Trouve.
Yeah, wow.
And we incorporate their images in the spa, so you'll see murals in our treatment rooms and posters that are Spa Trouve employees dressed up as vintage girls, cucumbers and robes and kind of that vintage vibe. But it's been one of my favorite aspects, just the creative branding. Yeah. How do you set yourself apart? How do you become noticeable, memorable? I always like to stay on the cutting edge of that process.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. And for people who haven't seen your website or things like that, or your Instagram or your social media, and we'll mention that at the end where they can go see that, but it's pretty amazing, your branding and how you describe that. It's really different.
Thanks.
It really is. It's different. And me being a guy, even I can tell that it's different than the norm.
Yeah.
What year was that when you bought the Orem?
That was
when
2011.
2011. And here we are this many years later.
Yeah, it'll be 11 years this
11
year.
years. Congratulations.
Thanks.
We mentioned that you're opening your new place in Bountiful on March 1st.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have? I want to talk about that for a second.
There's 91 employees now with the Bountiful team, so it's grown immensely.
Yeah, and that is a lot.
It's a lot of girls.
There's a lot of girls.
It's a lot of women.
Yeah, and that in itself, to manage that many people with this many stores, again, that is not something that you just lightly do.
Oh, it's so hard, and I wouldn't even say there's really good days and really hard days. It's definitely not a beautiful storybook. I don't want anyone to think it's not messy.
Yeah. Well, again, that's what I'm saying. Behind the scenes, if people knew what you really went through because, on the outside, you look at your stores, they're gorgeous. Again, your branding's spot on. The way you treat customers is amazing. No one would know. You walk into the spa, you feel like you're in a spa, like, it's all peaceful. But again, you really work really hard to make sure that experience gets to the customer like that.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that's helped that I would recommend for any entrepreneur or small business owner is really think about your culture and how do you give your culture a voice. And I've talked about this before, but we have something called the Trouve Way.
Ooh,
and it's each letter is an acronym. It's an acronym for what our culture stands for, and it's integrated into the onboarding process and also all the employee reviews. So, for example, T in the Trouve Way stands for treat people with respect.
Okay.
R stands for retain clientele, and you have to retain above 60% of your clientele. O is offer product and services, and we require every esthetician to mention 3 products or services to the guest so they're educated about what we do before they leave. U is understand expectations, and anyway, it goes on down the line. But when we do our quarterly reviews with our employees, they rate themselves on the Trouve Way, and then we rate them, and we can kind of compare. And then we go through each one. And I think that helps because if you say from the beginning, hey, you can actually get written up for not being optimistic. The why in Trouve Way is yes, we can. Meaning if we're having a bad day, we somehow figure out what's the solution to make it a good day.
Yes, we can. I love that.
The A is always support your managers, even when you don't agree with their decision.
Yeah.
And that is something you can written up for. If you disagree with what your manager says and it stirs things up in the clinic, then you can get a write-up. There's got to be a more professional way to handle that, than just venting about it to a coworker. So I think just having a voice, and during every team meeting, every monthly meeting, we review one of the letters in the Trouve way, and we kind of remind our employees, like,
very cool.
Yeah, U stands for this, W stands for this, and if they can be different per location based on, the needs of the certain clinic. Some may be down on product and services, so remember the 3 under 3, or some may be down in their attitude, so we go over yes we can. But it's just an acronym that we have for our culture. So
very neat. I love that. I think that's a great idea, and it kind of keeps it simple yet powerful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, easy to memorize, easy to understand, but you have to hold them accountable to that. But definitely helps when you're managing a lot of people. What are your boundaries? What are your parameters? And have them sign something. So it's not just, oh, I think this is what the culture is, but no, you read it and signed it. Yeah. And this is what Spa Trouve in our community, this is who we are. This is what we represent. And if you don't fit into our community, then you probably shouldn't work here.
Yeah, right.
So.
No, that's great. I want to ask you some tough questions, if that's okay.
Yeah. Oh boy, hit me.
Well, the one question is going along with the toughest. You did this on your own. Obviously, you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into this. What's been the toughest thing about this? And I know there's probably several, but is there something that stands out? Like, man, this really surprised me. This has been really hard. This part of it, or is there something that stands out?
I think with the growth. There's so many things that are really, really hard. Something for me is feeling like you're trying to do the best you can, work as hard as you can, be a very kind human.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like putting all your effort out there and then feeling like it's just not good enough. Or feeling there's just some people who misread you, or some people can't see what you're doing behind the scenes, and it can almost feel, and I know they don't intend to, but cruel, because you know what you're doing, you know how you're working, you know how much you do care for people, and then to just feel like they don't even see it, or it doesn't even matter. I think that can be really hard, because with growth, they can't see you. I can't be in 5 spas all the time. Where with one, I could touch them, see them, greet them, hug them, talk to them every day.
Yeah.
And then when you have 90, you're just really, really hoping that the policies and your leadership meetings and your Trouve way is bleeding through.
Yeah.
But there are so many moments where you have people quit, or you read an exit interview that's just so harsh, or, you see something on Instagram and it's just like, oh my goodness. Like,
Well, I think you're pointing something out too. You being the head of this, you are open to the criticism and people coming at you and saying maybe mean things on social media. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like, when you're an entrepreneur and you're a CEO of a company, you are okay. People can take shots at you.
Yeah.
Right? They're not taking shots at maybe another employee who doesn't own the place.
Right.
But they're coming at you.
Yeah.
And that's got to be heavy sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And it's surprising, because I've always wanted to be a leader. I naturally thrive in leadership positions. I like leading. I'm okay to take bullets for people or causes or whatever. But I think one thing I never thought of is how alone I would feel. I frequently just feel alone, like a little bit, and I talk to my husband about it a lot, but he's not in the day to day. And of course I have this incredible corporate team.
Sure.
They're amazing. And we couldn't even do what I do without them. But there are times when you just go home feeling very lonely. And I think too, for me, there's just simply not a ton in this state right now. There's not a ton of female CEOs that I can relate to. And so that does feel a little bit lonely, just to be totally honest. And so sometimes that's hard. Like, I'll go out with my friends, or I'll go to my church, or I'll go, you know, and then when they ask how you doing, I don't even know how to start that conversation.
Do you want me to really tell you?
Yeah, or even explain
Are you ready for this?
it. Yeah, or even explain it. And so I
Yeah.
think that loneliness, sometimes I
Yeah.
just crave to be seen or to be understood.
Yeah.
So I think as much kudos as you get sometimes as a leader, there are a lot of,
Yeah.
you know, just feelings of like,
Yeah.
just kind of feel lonely.
Yeah, there's two sides to that.
Yeah.
So, well, you definitely are a leader for sure, and leaders at times do have to stand alone.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it any easier knowing that, but again, what is the best thing that you love about what you do? What, like, you know, that was the toughest, but what's one of the best things that you just love?
For me, it's the growth, the personal growth.
Okay.
Like there are so many days where just the silliest dramatic things happen.
Right.
Or big things, you know. I mean, we've been through a lot. We've been through lawsuits. We've been through a sale of a business. We've been through, you know, having quite a few employees leave to a competitor at one time. We've been through just so much. And there are just so many days where I'll be like, this is one choice. Just, I'm going to sell. And my life could be just free of this.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
Like with one decision.
All I have to do is sell it. Everything will be fine.
Yeah. And it relieves you of just all of this, you know, pain or hardships.
Yeah.
But I'll walk out to the parking lot and I'll look at the Spa Trouve sign, and it has just provided immense personal growth.
Sure.
And I know like growth
imagine.
is like trials are so hard, but they stretch you, and you just I don't think I would have the understanding, the depth, the compassion, the knowledge, the experience, and gosh dang it, like you only have one life.
Yeah.
And
It's like your dad said.
Yeah, you only
Right?
have one life. And I don't want to die saying I didn't try, I was scared. You know, I want to die saying like, freak, that was so hard. Blood, sweat, and tears. As long as I come out a better person, you know, with more understanding, greater compassion, more lessons learned, a better human, then I guess bring on the hard.
Yeah.
But you
Sure.
just can't gain that. You just can't gain that experience by taking the easy route. You
Wow.
can't. And so I just don't want to give that up, because I know the money is great, and there might be times when I slump and I might fail. But at the end of the day, it's about like, well, Courtney, who are you becoming? Has this hard? What has it taught you?
Yeah.
You know, how is your character? What are the lessons? And then those you can't put a price on that.
Right.
You know, you can't put a price on the experience. And so
Yeah, I love that.
unfortunately or fortunately, I crave the growth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just like to go through hard things because I like to grow.
Yeah.
And so
Love that.
and this has been a way for me to grow. And I don't know if there's any other route I could have gone that would have taught me personally what I needed to be,
Yeah.
you know,
Totally.
except
No.
for this. So,
Beautifully said.
freaking
Seriously.
hard.
Yeah, it's freaking hard. Yeah. Well, there's a statement I'll tell my clients a lot. The greater the darkness, the greater the light.
yeah.
So there's two contrasts there. And you've experienced both.
Yep.
And you at times continually experience both.
Yep.
You know. And that's why I admire you, Courtney, honestly. Because I know the trials and stuff we've talked and of stuff that you've gone through, and I just respect you in so
Thanks.
many ways. I hope you know that. And people listening to this would respect this as well. And that's why I wanted you on. I hope people, you know, are listening to this going, you know what? Wow, I really admire what she's doing. And many of them might be thinking, I want to do my own thing. And hopefully your words are inspiring them to do it, because that growth is great, even though you had to pay a price to get it.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I think about just the lessons I've learned, the friendships I've made, the people that I've met, things that I never would have known anything about.
Yeah.
I mean, down to like QuickBooks, accounting, margins, reports,
For
goal
sure.
setting,
Yeah.
you know, like taxes. I mean, I would
Yeah.
have, you just gain appreciation and great understanding. And like, I mean, I drive down the street and I look at all of the businesses, big to small. It doesn't even matter to me. And I just think, wow, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing because it's just so
That's awesome.
hard.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, if there's someone listening to your voice right now, Courtney, that is just maybe struggling, they're in a tough spot.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, they're just having a hard day. What's one maybe bit of advice? You've already given some great stuff, but what's one bit of advice to that one person right now you could tell them that would help them?
I would say remember why you started.
Okay.
I have a why, my why reasons posted in my office, and I look at it all the time. And I would encourage you, before you start it or before you get too deep into it, to write down your reasons why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And make sure, you know, one of my whys is I love to grow other people. Like, I love providing jobs. I love seeing estheticians grow into manager, grow into an elite, attend the leadership trainings, seeing their potential, unlocking it, you know, watching them thrive. Like, I'm addicted to that. Like, I love that. I could do it again and again and again and again and again.
That's awesome.
So more than just like aesthetics and beauty, like, I love human development. That's one of my whys. Another one of my whys is I really do love the med spa industry, and it's growing so much, especially in Utah.
Yeah.
But make sure they're powerful enough reasons to get you through the hard times, and write it down and go back and refer to it. And then I would just say, if it really is something that you love to do, just don't back down.
Yeah.
Just never ever give up. Just keep standing back up.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at the windows that open after one has been closed. You know, it could be a hard door slam, but a little window peeks open, and then that window just brings in fresh air and sunlight, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful the door slammed.
Yeah.
So the window could open.
So it could open. Yeah.
And it happens every time.
Wow.
But you have to make sure that your mind isn't focused on the negativity, because you won't even see the window.
Yeah.
You know, if you're focusing on the dark or you're focused on the door.
Oof, so good.
So just make sure that, you know, every time, I personally believe that things do happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I really do. So I think stuff happens, but I think there is purpose behind it. And then I always think, okay, I mean, for me, I am a spiritual person, so I think, okay, God, where's the window?
Yeah.
You know, where's the light? What's the next? I might slump a little bit, but I know you care for me. I know I'm working hard. I know I have purpose in this. So show me the window.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to look for it. You have to seek it out. You have to watch for it. And then it's usually better than you imagined.
Dang.
You know, so I don't know. I've been through such hard things this past year. I feel like specifically this past year has been really hard, but sometimes I'll lay in bed and I'll just be like, start counting the blessings that came from it.
Yeah.
Or the relief that I found, or the people that re-entered my life, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So those are some things I would recommend.
That's great. Very well said. Thank you for sharing
you're
that.
welcome.
That's so good. You know, I believe life happens for us, you know, and I think back on your life and, you know, the lessons you learned from your family, specifically your dad, you know, the discipline you learned in doing piano and karate and going to school and getting good grades and graduating, opening up. I mean, it all led to prepare you to do what you're doing today. So I really believe life, the good and the bad, happens for us. And I see that in your life. And as you shared your story today, I can see it perfectly just laid out how it all happened for you, Courtney.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, if someone wants to reach out to you and they want to maybe ask you a question, or they want to know more about Spa Trouve and they want to maybe even sign up and come in and they've never, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm always on social media. My Instagram handle is Courtney Spa Trouve, Courtney, and Spa Trouve is Spatrouve. You can also find us at spatrouve.com. Check out our website. We have a list of all of our services, our menu, our videos are on there of our services and our treatments. And of course, Spa Trouve is also on all the social media platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever your favorite place to go
Love it.
is, you will find us.
No, thank you for sharing that. Well, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you're so busy.
Yeah.
So to have you here live is pretty impressive.
No, I'm
so
happy
thank
to
you.
be here. You're welcome.
But thanks for all you do. Courtney Anderson, folks, please check out her organization. I'm telling you, go get a treatment done and you'll walk out there going, man, this is amazing.
I'm going to hydrofacial. You will thank me.
Yeah, you will thank her. But thank you for tuning in, guys. I love you guys. Please share this with your family, your friends. If you have someone in your family that wants to be an entrepreneur and do their own thing, they need to listen to this episode. Please share it with them as well. Again, thanks to our sponsors. I love you guys. And Courtney, once again, thank you for your time today.
You're welcome.
Till next time, everybody.